How's it going, you guys? AZPlayout21 back with more WMMA 5 in our UFC save. And I think this is episode number 8. Can't be 100% sure, but we are back. And as you can see, our last time that I saw you guys was Michael Chiesa winning a number one contendership by beating Leon Edwards in the main events. Only 1,000 in attendance in Georgia. That's because these guys don't have the best drawing power necessarily, and it was a throwaway show technically. Now, when we get a little bit further down the line, throwaway shows are still going to be able to draw a little bit better of a crowd. It's just we're not there yet as far as company wise, and these guys aren't there as far as popularity wise amongst themselves. Like Michael Chiesa, let's see how popular he is. Mike Chiesa's mid-level national, so he's actually pretty good, but I think Leon Edwards isn't necessarily popular United States wide. He's more popular in the UK, and I think he's only low-level national in the UK. But what we're going to be doing in this episode is we're actually going to go ahead and book the prelims for the rest of the cards that we have going on in July. So we have literally all of our cards booked all the way up into July, so that's 3 months of fight cards that are booked. So we're just cold turkey going to take care of all this right now, and then we're going to go ahead and stop booking until the end of May. It's going to be done and dusted unless something were to happen, like someone gets injured, something like that. Then we would obviously go ahead and take care of it as necessary. But for right now, we're just going to finish booking these prelims. And as always, we're going to start with the pay-per-view, the most important card of the month, UFC 251 Miocic versus Cormier 3, a fight that needs to happen in real life. Cormier was calling out Stipe just yesterday, I think, on the Ariel Helwani show, and then Miocic actually responded. He was wearing glasses, kind of looking like Clark Kent a little bit. But a really interesting co-main event as we have Colby Covington taking on the returning George St. Pierre. So that'll be really interesting to see as well. GSP is back. We then have Robert Whittaker taking on Jared Cannonier in a middleweight title eliminator. And then another title eliminator, we have Dominic Reyes taking on Anthony Smith. Of course, Anthony Smith victorious against Alexander Gustafsson recently in real life. So very excited for that matchup as well. And then we have the returning Nick Diaz. That's right, the other Diaz brother, Nick Diaz, taking on Yoel Romero off of his loss against Izzy Adesanya for the middleweight championship. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get these prelims all booked up. Of course, we're going to go ahead and check if we have any hometown fighters. First of all, we are in New York, so my guess is there are going to be a couple of New York fighters that are available to fight. So let's go ahead and search, make sure that no funky search taglines are set up. Of course, hometown fighter. And there shouldn't be a problem with anyone as far as not having enough time, because this is still about a good 3 months down the line. So, of course, John Jones is a hometown boy in New York, but we have something in mind for him a little bit down the line. Of course, he will be fighting Jan Blachowicz for his light heavyweight championship, but of course, that's down the line, and we're obviously not going to put him on the prelims. I know someone mentioned in the comments, try to book John Jones or someone super popular in the prelims and see what they say. I'm not going to do that because I think it costs money to book them for this fight, and I don't want to risk doing something like that and pissing anybody off. So we got Keith Barish from New York. Let's go ahead and see if there's anybody a little bit more popular, someone like Lyman Good, Philip Rowe. Let's go ahead. He's not even from New York. He's from Palm Coast, Florida. All right, so Lyman Good, that's not too terrible. He's, of course, coming off that win over Chancellor Rencountre in the Masvidal-Diaz fight. So let's see what kind of even fight we can find for this guy. This guy would get absolutely smoked by Timoteus Swiatek, apparently. So, of course, as we're looking on the right side of the screen. We're looking around right here. And anything that's under 200 or around 300, if we can't really find anything, is what I like to see. And then for prelims, I really don't like I don't like booking fights that are obviously that have happened before in the past. And I see you, Pony Boy. Thank you for joining up. I know it's 6 a.m. in the morning for you over there, so I'm happy that you're able to join me for the stream. So see, this fight right here, Lyman Good taking on Peter Sabata, German boy, taking on the kid from New York. It looks pretty good to me. Lost to Leon Edwards. That was his last fight. We're going to go ahead and book that. So the hometown boy, Lyman Good, in the prelims here. So yes, Gregor Gillespie. This is a really good one. He is a very good fighter. Top 15 in the lightweight division. Let's find something for him to do, and this would be a really good fight to do in the prelims. So he's coming off a loss. Everybody in the top 10 already has something going on. So someone like James Vick, someone like Carlos Diego Ferreira, someone like Benil Dariush. Let's go ahead and see what exactly we can do for him. Any of these fights would be heavily in his favor. So let's go ahead and have him take on James Vick, because it even says that this fight here could possibly make it onto the main show of this pay-per-view, which is very strange considering that both of these guys are not necessarily that popular, and James Vick is actually on a losing streak. He lost to Nico Price via I think it was not a flying knee. He had him in guard. He was in his guard, and I think he went for like a ground strike, and he just like got caught by an up kick, and it knocked him out. It was the weirdest thing, but we'll go ahead and set this up. Of course, Gregor Gillespie coming off that ferocious knockout from Kevin Lee. So I mean, who knows what's gonna happen in a fight like this? Vic probably is gonna move up a weight class if he loses. I mean, yeah, he's very tall for a lightweight, so I'm surprised he's even able to make that kind of weight cut. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, maybe 155 is not his weight class. Maybe he should be moving up to welterweight. But then, I mean, the welterweight division is even more stacked with heavy hitters. So, and I think that's why he probably stays in the lightweight division, because he knows he's obviously going to be bigger than everybody else. He's probably going to have a little bit more of a power advantage. That's probably the big reason why he stepped down in weight. But I mean, like you mentioned, he's probably should be moving up a weight class if he loses this fight. But number 11 versus number 15. So that should be a pretty good one. We got a guy like Jared Gordon, Matt Frivola. These are both some up-and-coming prospects in the lightweight division. But I want to see if there's anyone. See, like Andre Harrison, a guy who's trying to debut, and a guy who's, he's not undefeated, obviously. He's coming off a draw in PFL, but he was undefeated as he entered the PFL. So this is definitely a guy that people are going to be looking out for. So Andre Harrison, we're going to have him make his debut here at UFC 251 here in the prelim. So let's go ahead and see who we can find for him to take on. Obviously someone that gives him a little bit of a test. He's not necessarily anyone that I'm trying to build up, because he's already 31 years old. So it's not like this is a project by any means. This is definitely someone who's coming in looking to make an impact, but we're not necessarily going to just give him an easy fight from the get-go. But as you can see, he's heavily favored against a lot of these people. But see, a guy like this, undefeated, 23 years old, young kid, 12-0, Sergio Giglio, out of Peru. I mean, it could be a pretty tough task for him. I mean, undefeated fighter, he has to have some sort. Are you familiar with Daniel Madrid? I have heard that name before, but I can't off the tip of my tongue tell you where he is from. I think he's in Bellator, is he not? Correct me if I'm wrong, Cornflakes, but I think he might be in Bellator. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and set this one up. Sergio Giglio taking on Andre Harrison. All right, and then after we're done booking this, we'll go ahead and set up as far as, where in LFA, big guy in Arizona. Actually, yes, that is where I have heard him from. He's from Arizona, and he does fight in LFA. I haven't been to an LFA show since Kyler Phillips was on the show, and I can't remember if Daniel Madrid was on that fight card or not, because as I mentioned in an earlier episode, I used to train not with Kyler Phillips, but at the same gym as Kyler Phillips. So, I would see him passing from time to time, talk about the LFA, talk about his aspirations to go to the UFC. And then it was a big deal because he was supposed to be on a UFC show about a year ago. He was supposed to take on Ray Borg. That was the fight that Casey Kenny ended up replacing him for. And now Casey Kenny's a really big prospect in the bantamweight division. Casey Kenny's also a guy who came from LFA. I think he was their champion at the time when he took that fight against Ray Borg. He kind of took it from Kyler Phillips, which kind of sucks, but I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, obviously Kyler Phillips is doing really well for himself. So, I mean, I'm sure he's not hating on anybody. But yeah, LFA is a really good promotion, a very good, not necessarily feeder league, but it's a good regional promotion that the UFC certainly takes consideration of when they're thinking about the prospects that they want to bring in. And Daniel Madrid, I'm sure, is a prospect to look out for. I'll search him up in this mod. I'm not sure if he's in here, but after I'm done Actually, I'll just go ahead and take a look at it now. Daniel Madrid. Let's see if he is in here. If he's an LFA and he's a pretty good prospect, I'm sure he must be in here. Ishihara, Kayla Harrison is in PFL. She sure is, and she's lightweight. He's like 35. Oh, then definitely not a prospect by any means. Let's see. Yep, he is 36 years old, 17-7, and he's actually had a fight for the LFA championship, and he lost to Jordan Wright, who we did sign. So technically, that's a good thing because we already signed a contract with Jordan Wright, and Daniel Madrid fought against him for the championship in LFA. So that's a good thing for us. Obviously, Daniel Madrid, it sucks because he's an Arizona boy, but Jordan Wright can come in with a little bit more momentum. He won a championship in LFA, and now he signed with us in the UFC. But yeah, and not and necessarily anyone that I'm looking to sign Daniel Madrid, and it's not a knock on him. I mean, he's a great fighter, 17-7. That's an amazing record. But at age 36 and coming off a loss, it's not someone that I'm looking to sign. Like if he were to come out blazing like 4 straight wins in a row, then we can take a look at him. But we're not. It's a bad investment to sign someone who's 36 years old, who doesn't necessarily look like he's a world beater by any means. If we were going to sign someone who's like 36 or 40, it would have to be someone that we know for a fact can take on the best of the best right now, because it would kind of be a waste of our time and a waste of Daniel's time if we were to think about it, for us to sign him just so we can come and get slaughtered by the guys in the UFC. It's not necessarily. Will I do Ultimate Fighter? So I'm not going to do Ultimate Fighter, and I am not going to set up Invicta anytime soon, because I want to focus on what we got going on as far as the UFC as a whole right now, because otherwise it's kind of just gonna saturate things a little bit too much. You know, we're gonna lose focus when our main focus should be making money, so we can set up the UFC network and we can make even more money through our broadcasting means that way. And then once we have a lot of money in our reserves, then we can think about Invicta. Then we can think about setting up the Ultimate Fighter. The Ultimate Fighter would be really cool because we could obviously get some more stars in the female divisions, which would be what I would want to do it for. I don't think we need to create any stars in the men's divisions. That we have a lot of regional promotions that are setting up some stars, and it's not necessarily like we need to do the Ultimate Fighter anyways. Just like the UFC doesn't need to do the Ultimate Fighter anymore in real life at all. They don't need to, and I think that's why they don't do it anymore. They do the Tuesday Night Contender Series, and honestly, that's a lot better than the Ultimate Fighter because it probably costs a lot less for them in production costs, and it makes for very good programming because they're just live fights. They're just live fights that everyone can enjoy and just watch, and it happens instantaneously. There's no stupid, reality show buildup and anything like that. I really like Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series because it gives the young kids a chance to shine, and then at the end of the night, people walk home with UFC contracts. It's cool. It's amazing. It's the drama that you want to see of a reality show, but it's cut down in time, and it's actual live sports. Like, that's awesome. Cool. I'm down with it. But see, a guy like Daniel Madrid wouldn't be and looking for a fight when they do it. Yeah, but the thing with that is they found guys like Sage Northcutt, and they fell in love with him. But the thing is, when they do looking for a fight, they're finding guys in super rinky-dink regional promotions. It's not like they're going to Bellator. It's not like they're going to, LFA. They're going to like super regional promotions, which is obviously you want to look for guys in those promotions, but a lot of the kids that come out of them are still super green. And by green, I mean they're not experienced at all, which is why Sage Northcutt, when he was signed into the UFC, they really protected him by making sure they put him up against, competition that wasn't at his level or very, favorable matchups for him since he's a kickboxer. And so I like looking for a fight because it's interesting. You get to see Matt Serra and Dana kind of just goof around a little bit, but I don't necessarily think it's good for finding fighters for the promotion, because those fighters that they're signing off looking for a fight, it's cute because they're signing them and it's a happy story, but that kid is not ready at all for the UFC. Not at all. Sage Northcutt was not ready. Sean O'Malley was ready, but I think it was kind of a lucky draw with Sean O'Malley, because we still don't even know if Sean O'Malley's like top 10 worthy. He just came off a win over Teco Quinones, but Teco Quinones is still not a really good fighter, guys. They're protecting Sean O'Malley just like they were Sage Northcutt, and they're doing a good job of it, but Sean O'Malley is not a top 10 fighter. He's not. And I hope he does become one because he's really entertaining and he's a really good fighter. But I'm not expecting him to fight Henry Cejudo anytime soon. I'll just say that. All right. So we digress a little bit. And so, done taking a look at Daniel Madrid. Let's go ahead and book some more prelims. All right. Layman good. Okay, we got 3 prelims set up. And we have to book 7 more, obviously. Let's see if there's any female fighters that are from New York that are looking to get booked up here. If my laptop would love to cooperate with me. And so no one at women's strawweight. And then, I think I'm going to go into the men's right now. All right, so here we go. So Brian Kelleher, Jared Gordon, John Jones, Julio Arce, Matt Frivola, Philip Rowe. So Brian Boom Kelleher is coming off a pretty good win via submission. And so at bantamweight, I think that's who we'll give a fight to. And then no females. So let's see. Let's do 2 or 3 more of these hometown fights, and then we'll kind of be done with those for the time being. So Brian Kelleher, Jared Flash Gordon, and then let's see, Julio Arce. Let's do Matt Frivola. All right. Oh my goodness, my laptop is actually being kind of slow right now, guys. All right. So in the bantamweight division. All right, there we go. Kind of got it back up to snuff a little bit. All right, Brian Kelleher. Let's see if we can find him a good fight. Maybe someone in the top 25 for him. No, not Nathaniel Wood, because we have actually decided. It's not been announced or anything like that yet, but the pay-per-view that we're going to be doing outside of the United States is, in fact, going to be in the UK. It's going to be in London. It's not going to be in Ireland because Ireland is not necessarily that not prestigious. That's not the word I'm looking for. It's not as lucrative as London. We're gonna have Conor McGregor main event that fight card in London, but a lot of these UK fighters are going to be on that card as well. And Nathaniel Wood is definitely one of those guys. And so we don't have Nathaniel Wood for Brian Kelleher here. I hate London. Pony Boy, where are you from in the UK? I mean, London's obviously not everyone's favorite cup of tea, but I'd imagine it's the hub of the UK. I can't say because I've never been to London, but I'd imagine a good deal of UK people don't like London, and probably for the reasons that I'm mentioning. It's probably kind of tourist heavy, a bunch of tourists walking all over the place, which I can understand would probably get pretty annoying after a while. West of England? Okay. Gotcha. So I'm trying to find someone for Brian Kelleher to fight here. And it seemed like the only one that would really make sense for him was Nathaniel Wood. See, number 24, he's heavily favored against. Brett Johns, we might keep for that UK show. He's coming off a win as well. And then Dominic Cruz, he would definitely not win. Alejandro Perez, we might go ahead and do this one. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this one. Alejandro Perez taking on Brian Kelleher. Minus 300, so he's favored, but not like by a super, big amount. All right, so in the lightweight division, Jared Gordon, I wonder what would happen if we put them up against each other. So Jared Gordon versus Matt Frivola. Let's see what that would look like as far as the odds. It would be super even. So that's interesting. We're going to go ahead and do it. Jared Gordon taking on Matt Frivola. 2 New York boys going at it. One from Queens, one from Huntington. All right. And so let's go ahead and do one more. And I think it was in the featherweight division. Julio Arce. All right, let's go ahead and do this one right here. He's coming off a defeat, so he's not going to be fighting anyone super noteworthy. Sias? Is that the name of the town that you're from, Pawnee? Suman Mokhtarian. All right, let's go ahead and do this one. Suman Mokhtarian might be on the chopping block if he loses this fight. From Australia, 0-2 in the UFC. This might be his kind of last chance. You know, if he doesn't win this fight, he might not stick around. All right, so we are all done with our hometown fights for this one. So let's just see what we can do here. Let's go and take a look at the rankings and see what ranked fighters we still have that are looking for fights. Preferably some female fights. And we want to get some female fights on here. One of those is going to be a featherweight fight. So let's go ahead and do Leah Letson against Alexis Dufresne. Kind of just 3 versus 4. Get something going in this division. It says that she's coming off a win. What has she done in the UFC, Leah Letson? Beat Julia Stolyarenko. All right, good for her. All right, so Leah Letson versus Alexis Dufresne. Definitely an even matchup. We'll go ahead and do that. 1-3 versus 4. You love to see it. No, he was a fighter. Ah, okay, gotcha. Oh, he was probably someone on the list that I was looking at. Gotcha. I think Megan Anderson is extremely good looking. She's not an eyesore by any means. Um, she's definitely a lot taller than me. I'm about 6 foot even, and I think she's 6'2", 6'3". I'm not 100% sure about that. But yeah, she's definitely good looking. Not the best looking, girl in the UFC by any means, but in the featherweight division for sure. All right, so we got 3 more fights to book here. Let's go ahead and see what we got cooking in the rest of the rankings here. Someone like, Sajara Eubanks, no. She can fight on one of the prelims of the other fight cards. Julia Avila, maybe. Maybe Avila versus Morris. I don't know how to pronounce that necessarily. Or you know what? Let's do Eubanks versus Morris. Because they're two fighters that have kind of shitty records that I'm kind of thinking about cutting anyways. So let's just go ahead and make it a chopping block match. This is a loser goes home kind of fight. All right. Now let's see. We have 2 more fights to book up. So let's put a couple bangers on here, shall we? Here in the prelims. Let's see, what else can we do that makes sense? Alexander Gustafsson, maybe we save him for that UK card. Tracy Cortez is coming off a win, that is correct. Gustafsson, we might save for the UK card because I want to stack that UK card. I really do. Connor will be a help, but it'll be nice to put some other really important fights on that card as well. So I'm thinking Kutalaba versus Alexichuk. I'm looking at those two, and that fight makes a little bit of sense to me. Remember, we kind of want to do. I think we want to do Ozdemir versus Gustafsson. That will probably be a fight that I do on that UK card. So I'm thinking Alexichuk. I'm thinking maybe just close it out with Sakai Pavlicic. But we do only have 2 more fights to book on this, and I do want them to be rather impressive. Souza versus Till is for sure on that UK card. Maybe find something for Tim Kennedy. Omari Akhmedov, maybe. We do need to find something for Easy DS. Ooh, you know what? Yeah, let's do Easy DS versus Mike Perry. That seems like a very interesting fight. 2 strike-heavy guys. And then, Dariush versus Fajeda. That could be really good. Feely versus Dan Ige. Or Amir Khani. Actually, I think Amir Khani's coming off a loss to Feely, right? Lost to Shane Burgos. Maybe Kron Gracie versus like one of these 2 guys. Because he's coming off a loss to Cub Swanson, but I think he could still face some pretty good competition. And I'd imagine his popularity is pretty high. Mid-level regional, so not necessarily the greatest, actually. But let's find something for Kron Gracie to do. And then I think after that we'll do Easy Diaz versus Mike Perry. So let's go to lightweight. Or is it welterweight? It is welterweight. And there we go. Easy Diaz versus Mike Perry. And Mike Perry's heavily favored. It says this could actually be a main show fight. So let's do it. Easy Diaz coming off a win in that Lee Oliveira fight card, no less. And then Mike Perry on a little bit of a losing streak, last losing to Jeff Neal. I actually went to that fight card, UFC 245. It was a nice fight card. It was kind of tough seeing him get destroyed by Jeff Neal like that, but Mike Perry is always an interesting fighter. Yeah, Gracie and Feely, they're both coming off a loss. They certainly are. So let's see what we can find for Kron Gracie here in the featherweight division. Kron Gracie, both. It says winning streak, but he's coming off a loss. Don't pay any attention to that. So Feely's coming off the loss to Sadiq Yusuff. It says that Feely would be a heavy favorite. Dan Ige. But see, Ige is coming off a win over Bektic, who's technically in the top 10. So I kind of want to find something better for him to do. Because who's Bektic fighting? Sadiq Yusuff. That's tough. Because if he beat Bektic, but what has Bektic been up to? Yeah, he's on a losing streak. So in my mind, Bektic is not a top 10 fighter. In my mind, Bektic is not a top 10 fighter, so technically Ige shouldn't get the benefit for having beaten Bektic. That's what I'm thinking. So in my mind, Bektic is around number 20, so I don't know why the game is classifying him as number 9 in the company. But I do think we are doing a Kron Gracie fight. It's just, should it be against Dan Ige? I think it might have to be, because it looks like a really even fight. Obviously a jiu-jitsu guy taking on a traditional martial artist. It could be very interesting, and I think we're going to go ahead and do it. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look. Lyman Good, Peter Sabata, Gregor Gillespie, James Vick. That's the featured prelim as of right now. Brian Kelleher will put him up there. That'll do like that. Put the women's fights up there like that. Put it over that Jared Gordon fight. That can be in the super prelims. Easy DS Mike Perry will definitely be up there. I'd say the co-prelim main event. And then Kron Gracie, Dan Ige. It'll be right below that one. Have you ran your first pay-per-view of the Save yet? That's actually not here yet. I think it's the fight card after this next one. So right now, what we're just going to be doing is booking the prelims, and then I'm going to simulate ahead to our next fight card. And our next fight card, as a matter of fact, is going to be Moraes versus Sandhagen. So we can take a look here at that fight card, Moraes versus Sandhagen. Remember, this was supposed to be... why am I blanking right now? This was supposed to be Piotr Jan, but he got injured, so Sandhagen stepping in. So now this is a title eliminator. The winner of this one will fight for the Bantamweight Championship at some point. And then you got Kevin Lee versus Islam, which was supposed to happen originally a while ago. Aspen Ladd versus Irene Aldana, which is also another title eliminator for the Bantamweight division. Alexia Oleinik versus Marcin Tybura. Caitlin Chukagian versus Roxanne Modafferi. If Modafferi wins that fight, she'll more than likely get a title match against Valentina. And then Jack Hermanson versus Derek Brunson, which I think is the sleeper fight of the show. But we are booking the rest of our prelims. And I do thank you guys for catching the stream as always. Cejudo refused to fight Sandhagen for me. It's probably because he's not popular. But the thing is, Cejudo can't be that popular to begin with himself. Um, Maybe like mid-level national. Yeah, mid-level national, and then Corey Sanhagen. The thing is, Corey Sanhagen's low-level regional here. Um, and I mean, yeah, not a lot of people would necessarily know who he is. He has a couple really good wins like Lineker and Asunsao, but he's definitely not a household name yet, like someone like Cejudo is right now. So yeah, it'll be tough to kind of you know run that fight, but it'll happen. It'll happen because a thing that I can do is I can put a lot of hype behind the fight by putting hype over both the fighters, so that way they get the benefits of the win, obviously. But then it kind of hurts the other person in that fight because if they lose, they get they get downgraded as far as their popularity because they had high hype on them. All right, so we have the prelims done for that one. So now let's go ahead and do it for the other ones. Of course, 7 prelims on the fight night cards, and we are in Utah. I doubt there's really anybody in Utah as a hometown fighter, but let's go ahead and check anyways. Oh, we actually have one, Court McGee. Court McGee is the only male fighter from Utah. And let's see, nope, no female. So let's go ahead and get Court McGee on there. He's in the middleweight division, correct? And a veteran of the UFC, I should add. He's been around for a while. I remember playing as him on UFC Undisputed 3. So he's actually in the welterweight division. Could have sworn he was in the middleweight division before. He's coming off a loss, so let's find someone relatively unknown to fight. And you know what? That guy's from England. But see, the thing is, I'm not going to be able to put obviously every UK fighter on that card, even though it's a pay per view. A lot of them are going to have to end up fighting each other. You know what I mean? Just because I want to get them on the card in the UK, so that way I can benefit from their popularity. But a lot of them are going to have to end up fighting like each other, simply because there's a lot of UK fighters in the UFC, and not all of them are going to be able to be on the pay per view. And I'm not just going to put 20 fights on the card just to appease, you know, the UK fighters. So a guy like Adam Proctor, I mean, what's his popularity like in the UK? Because if it's not that high, low level regional. See, like this guy, I'm probably just gonna put on this because he's a good fight for Court McGee, who is a hometown fighter in his own right. So let's go and do that because it's also a really a close fight. All right, so Court McGee versus Adam Proctor, and that's the only hometown fight that we have. So now we can just go ahead and take a look and see what we can do for the rest of these prelims. The rest of these prelims are basically just going to be a lot of unknown guys that are fighting. So what I typically like to do for this is either use a random number generator to decide which divisions I'm having fights in, or I just take a look and I see Alexei Kunchenko. Let's go ahead and take a look at him. Because I know he's coming off a loss, which sucks for him. As I see him down there at the bottom of the screen, Alexei Kunchenko, 35 years old, 20-2, 2-2 in the UFC. The thing is, he's had a couple of tough opponents in Gilbert Burns and Easy DS. So, I mean, he got a win over Thiago Alves and Yushin Okami. That's great. But he had that loss to Gilbert Burns, which at the time didn't necessarily look that great. But now we obviously know how good of a fighter Gilbert Burns is. So it looks a little bit better on his part. And then Easy DS, which he's always a pretty good fighter. But yeah, he's mid-level regional in Russia. Not that great. And low-level regional in the United States. He does not have a fight booked. But, I mean... I could put him on these prelims. We can find something for him to do. Let's go ahead and try to do that. He was in the welterweight division, correct? Let's find something for him to do. This is for the Lawler versus Magny fight card. All right, so Alexei Kunchenko. Let's find something for him on a losing streak, but against really quality guys. So let's find someone in the top 25. So someone like Anthony Martin, he's heavily favored against Alexei Kunchenko, so maybe not. But this guy, Bilal Muhammad, really close fight, number 24 in the company. He's coming off a win, but it's against a pretty shitty opponent in Takashi Sato. So let's go into this one. Let's try to get Alexei back into the top 25 against Bilal Muhammad, who's a pretty good prospect in his own right. So we'll go ahead and do that fight here in Utah. All right. Anybody else wants to take a look at any other fighters? Tracy Cortez is coming off a win. Let's go and see what Tracy Cortez can do. Might just have her face against someone a little higher up in the rankings than her. Martina Cech versus Tracy Cortez. Martina Cech is heavily favored in this matchup. And I have no idea why. Only 4 fights under her belt. She beat Penny Kianzad. Why isn't she higher up the? That's crazy. Let's see here. See, there's not, and that's the thing with these women's fights. A lot of them aren't necessarily going to be super close. Because see, like Sarah Alpar, this one's the closest one so far. Laura Procopio. See, like Stephanie Egger, this looks like a pretty close fight. 4-1 though against 7-1, but I mean it's the closest fight that we have, even though she's number 24 in the company. We'll go ahead and do this one, simply because the betting line says it's pretty even. All right, let's do one more women's fight, and then let's do another featherweight fight, just to kind of get them out of the way here. Let's do Gabby Holloway, and if she loses this fight, I don't like records that are, very bad. Chris Holdsworth, we're gonna. Maybe I should have booked him on that pay-per-view card because I think he's ranked. He's already ranked in the bantamweight division, despite the fact that he hasn't had a fight in a long time. No, he actually is not. Is that because he's not a bantamweight anymore? No, he is. Flyweight, maybe? No. I wonder if he can be a flyweight. Let's check that out. Can Chris Holdsworth be a flyweight? And he cannot. But Nathaniel Wood can. See, there's a lot. I love this section of the screen, the weight classes section, because it shows you obviously all the fighters that you have fighting in that weight class. Not only that, it shows you all the fighters that could potentially be in that weight class. So it's like, okay, if I feel like we don't have enough flyweights and I kind of want to spruce up the division a little bit, I can just say, boom, DeMarte Pena, or boo, Bruno Gustavo da Silva, get in the flyweight division, and then you have some fresh matchups. But 38 fighters in the flyweight division, 84 in the bantamweights, 86 in the featherweights, 100 in the lightweight, 103 in the welterweight, 75 in middleweight, 61 in light heavyweight, 56 at heavyweight. So we have quite a few fighters on our roster. 10 fighters in featherweight, 31 at bantamweight, 47 at flyweight, 57 at strawweight. So, like, I can move. I'm sure there's a couple of bantamweight fighters that could fight in the featherweight division, but I wouldn't want to deplete the bantamweight division. So I would probably want to, get a couple more bantamweight prospects in here before I think about the featherweights. And there's a chance I just don't do the featherweight division altogether. I mean, I'm sure a lot of these featherweights can fight at bantamweight. It doesn't look like Dufresne can. Can Lemos? Okay, Lemos can. Can Daria fight there? No, so maybe not. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, definitely a lot of things we can take into consideration as far as, weight classes and things of that nature. All right, so 4 more fights to add. If you do a Russian card, have Alexander Eliamenko versus Volkov. That's a pretty good idea. But the thing is, Volkov is ranked in the top 10. And Emelianenko, I doubt, because he's already signed. Emelianenko's already signed, and he's not in the rankings, I don't think. Yeah, so he's not in the rankings at all. And I already have him signed. So what that tells me is that him fighting Alexander Volkov, while it might be very entertaining, would be a waste of Volkov's time. And it could just he could just demolish, you know, Emelianenko. Obviously, he could just smash him, which would be great, but it'd be a waste of his time because he's a top 10 fighter at this point. So he should be fighting someone in the top 10. And who it is going to be, I'm not 100% sure. See, Oleinik. If Oleinik wins his fight, if we have a Russian card somewhere down the line, I feel like Oleinik would be a fight that makes more sense for Volkov than Emelianenko. Emelianenko will be a big draw in Russia, and he can fight basically whoever, and he'll still be a pretty good draw. All right. So now we're going to sort this by popularity so we can get our unknowns on the card. And we're going to just see who we have the most fighters available in the weight classes. And it looks like lightweights. Let's find some guys at lightweight to put against one another. Brad Riddell. Let's go ahead and find you someone to fight. Mason Jones, a Wales prospect. We'll go ahead and keep you. Jack Grant. Oh, someone had mentioned Damir Hadzovic, who's on a losing streak right now. He'd be heavily favored against Brad Riddell, though. His last fight was against Moicano, though. So we might save him for that UK card, Damir Hadzovic. But there's a good chance that we're probably not, because he's not even that popular in the British Isles. So let's actually go ahead and find someone for Hadzovic to fight here on these prelims. Do you play TEW, or are you planning on getting 2020? Yes. So I played TEW 2016 quite a bit. The thing with that is TEW is a very, very, very time-consuming game. Kind of like this one, but in a more brain-stressing way, just because you have to think about angles and things like that. I am pretty good at playing TEW, but the thing is, I can't get into the Cornellverse for the life of me. It takes too much out of me to try to familiarize myself with everybody. Whereas if I were to play with a mod, I know everybody, I know everybody's strengths, and I have storyline ideas, in my head. I haven't watched a bunch of WWE recently, so if I were going to play TEW like with a mod, I'd probably do like a local to global kind of thing. Or I could just do something like AEW or New Japan, and it'd be a lot more fun just because I can book matches instead of having to worry about angles and things like that. All right. So let's see. Let's find someone here. Gavin Hughes. That's the thing. Another UK guy. But I need to stop thinking about, saving UK guys, because obviously there's going to be a lot there. So this looks like a pretty even fight for Hadzovic. Let's go ahead and do it here on this card. All right, so 3 more fights to book for this one. And this is turning out to be a pretty long video, despite me just booking these prelims here. Let's just go ahead and finish out with more lightweight fights. Find someone for Brad Riddell. Ooh, Thibaut Gotti on a losing streak. Again, someone coming off a victory, though. It doesn't necessarily seem like a good one. Ooh, Reynaldo Acevedo, but he's not very heavily favored against Riddell. Alex Reyes. Someone mentioned him. Let's go ahead and do this one. Brad Riddell versus Alex Reyes. All right, 2 more fights to book up here. And this time, let's go to the featherweight division. Krzysztof Gutowski. 8-0. Nice prospect we got going on here against an Australian prospect in Michael Tobin. Looks to be a pretty even fight. Or we have Kazumasa Majima, who I think is from Ryzen. It doesn't necessarily have his history down, but I think he's from Ryzen. Can't be 100% sure. Let's see. His style is Shuto versus Muay Thai, Judo versus Muay Thai. I think Shuto would be a little bit better of a stylistic approach to this. So let's do Gutowski versus Majima here. All right, now 1 more fight to go. Keeping it here in the featherweights. So let's find something for Tobin to do. Another Japanese fighter. Paddy Pimblett is going to be on that UK card for sure. Let's see. Ooh, Jung Young Lee looks like he might be really good. Heavily favored against Tobin. Herbert Burns on a winning streak. I think he should be fighting someone who's already been in the UFC though. So maybe this guy, Julio Cesar Neves, who's 34-1, but is the underdog against Tobin. Let's go ahead and do this one. It looks to be a little bit of a journeyman, probably fighting in a lot of shitty regional promotions, but hey, why not test him out? All right, so let's go ahead and set these up. That looks to be okay. That's all right. Go ahead and put the Hadzovich fight right there. That looks all good. All right, we got 7 fights booked up. Let's go ahead and move on to our next card. Okay, so this is the Figueiredo Benavidez fight card. That's for the flyweight championship. Also, Cain Velasquez, Rumble John. This is a stacked card, I gotta say. O'Malley versus Mitch Gagnon. Rinnakai Macy Barber, who of course is my wife, you guys. She just doesn't know yet. Ben Askren versus Cowboy Oliveira. Chad Mendez versus Edson Barbosa. Okay, I mean, tell me you guys wouldn't go to this fight card. And then a title fight a title fight as the main event. And on a fight night card, that's amazing. The return of Rumble Johnson, which admittedly probably should be on pay-per-view. That fight probably should be on pay-per-view, but it is what it is. All right, let's go ahead and book the prelims for that one. In Illinois, there probably are going to be a couple of hometown fighters. All right, go to catchweight male. And the reason I had to go to catchweight male is just so I can get a quicker look at who's a hometown fighter. Just because obviously it's going to have every fighter who is a male. So it's just a quick, rundown of anyone that's a hometown fighter that's available for the show. Clay Guida, Bobby Moffitt, Matt Fior DeRosa, and Cole Williams. All right, cool. How are you from Iowa and you're a hometown fighter? Makes no sense. All right. But Clay Guida at lightweight, featherweight, welterweight. Got it. All right, so Clay Guida. Not ranked, but he's pretty popular. So let's find someone for him to fight. Someone gives him a pretty even fight. Nick Lentz on a losing streak. Bryce Mitchell is comedy gold. Give him a fight. Bryce Mitchell, I think I know who you're talking. He's fighting this weekend, actually. Bryce Mitchell's fighting this weekend. He's on the UFC, not the Fight Pass. It's on ESPN Plus, but he's on the ESPN Plus prelims this weekend. Bryce Mitchell is very funny, but I think he's in some hot water because I'm pretty sure he got in trouble. No. I'm thinking about Brock Weaver. Brock Weaver got in some trouble because he had some kind of dog fighting crap come out about him. Bryce Mitchell's just the guy who wanted camo UFC shorts, right? Yeah, Bryce Mitchell's a pretty funny guy. So I'm definitely going to be excited to watch that. I literally took off the entire Saturday. I begged my district manager to give me Saturday off. So I made a deal with him where I work an open to close on Friday just so I have, Saturday off. I'm literally just going to spend all of Saturday just kicking back, watching all the fights here at the house. I invited some of my friends, but a lot of people kind of don't want to, go anywhere because of the whole situation we got going on. It's understandable. It just sucks because I'm going to end up paying $60 for the pay-per-view that I'm probably just going to be end up watching myself. All right, so Clay Guida versus Nick Lentz. Let's go ahead and do it. That's more than likely going to be the feature prelim for this show. All right, I think we had something going on at featherweight. Bobby Moffitt, Matt Fior DeRosa. Let's go ahead and do them against each other. Matt Fior DeRosa, where are you at? Are you even on here? Let's see. Nope, there we are. Ooh, actually, let's not. Because Bobby Moffitt is way heavily favored. So let's find someone else for him to fight. And it looks like Jung Young Lee gives him a pretty good fight. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll find something for Fior DeRosa to do as well. Paddy Pimblett, saving him. Shane Young from Australia. Looks to be a pretty even fight. Kickboxer versus wrestling. It'll be very interesting. But what are my picks for 249? So I'm actually going to hold out on giving my predictions and picks for a later video. It's literally going to be okay. So it's going to be during the pay-per-view that is in game. So UFC 249 in game. I'm going to do the picks for UFC 249 in real life, just so you guys know. So that's when I'm going to be doing my picks. But off the top of the head, I can definitely tell you right now that Tony Ferguson is going to win. It's going to be submission, and it's going to be either round 3 or 4. I know Justin Gaethje, and I know Tony Ferguson. It's going to be a wild scrap until about the 3rd round. They're either both going to be really tired. Actually, that's a lie. Justin Gaethje is probably going to be really tired because Tony Ferguson has a really good gas tank. So that's what I imagine is going to happen. Justin Gaethje is going to come out swinging because he knows he's not going to win this by decision. If this goes to a decision, then Ferguson is going to win. But if it doesn't go to a decision, then it's really anybody's game. So Gaethje has to know that that's probably the only way he's going to win is if he stops Tony Ferguson. And so Gaethje's probably going to come out swinging and swinging heavily, which is why I'd imagine in the 3rd or 4th round, he's probably going to tire out and he's going to get stopped. But I think it's going to be via submission. It's going to be via submission. You know, Tony Ferguson has been working on probably some really crazy shit with Eddie Bravo. If you ever watch the Joe Rogan podcast, you know Eddie Bravo absolutely loves Tony Ferguson and has nothing but good things to say about him. And I can understand why. He seems to be a pretty good guy. He kind of had some mental issues going on, but that's his business. All I can say is Tony Ferguson, we'll say 4th round submission. The rest of my picks I'll give during the UFC 249 stream that I have going in game. All right. So we have 3 fights booked up here for this fight night, Figueiredo versus Benavidez. Are there any more hometown fighters? I think I might have gotten them all. I did not. Cole Williams, who's apparently Iowa is Illinois now. Let's see. Any close fights? Yes. This undefeated Russian, 12-0, versus Cole Williams. Let's go ahead and do it. He's unknown. See, that's the thing. When fighters are unknown, the bookies in game have no idea what to tell about them. Because if they're unknown, they obviously don't necessarily have any scouting on them. They don't have any information on them. So this Aliaskab Kisriev guy, 12-0, he could be a fucking star, and we just don't know it because his popularity is unknown. So not everyone's going to know a lot about him. All right, so I think that's all the hometown fighters. So let's just go ahead. Let's just go ahead and reset this and book 1 female fight for these prelims. Let's see. Strawweight, flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight. Let's go ahead and make it a strawweight fight. Alyssa Cron versus Jessica Del Boni. She's coming off a loss in Invicta. Eesh. Not sure I like that, but, I mean, got to get some names out there, so let's go ahead and add that fight. And then we have 2 more fights to book up. And let's do 1 middleweight fight and 1 lightweight fight. Abu Azaitar, of course, coming off that win in the, I think it was the Mauricio Shogun Hua fight against Torbjorn Madsen. What a name. Tanya Evinger still has a job. I'm surprised. So she wasn't on the roster in game when I started. I hired her simply to have bodies in the featherweight division, simply because I need fighters in the featherweight division, literally. No, I don't think she's going back to the UFC anytime soon. She's good in Invicta. She can do her thing there. Let's go ahead and do this fight. Torbjorn Madsen is actually favored against the Azaitar fighter, which I'm not sure why, but hey, let's do it. And they're both relatively unknown, so it could just be that they don't have that much info on Azaitar. And Azaitar is really, really good in real life, so I'd be surprised if he doesn't end up winning this one. All right, so 1 more to go, and let's go do it in lightweight division. A lot of English fighters in this division. Thibaut Gauthier, let's find something for him. Not up here. And let's see, Devin Powell All right, let's go and do this one. Seems to be pretty even. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 fights. Looks good to me. Let's go and just update the, not status, just the order of these. Like that. Goes down there. Let's go and put the Zaitar fight up here a little bit. Just like that. Yeah, let's go ahead and make that the co-featured fight. The Bobby Moffitt fight. Yeah, it looks good to me. All right, and then we have one more fight card to book prelims for. And then after this, after we book the rest of these prelims, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then I'm going to restart the recording, and then I'll kind of go through my whole spiel again. And you guys can tell me how stupid I sound for going through my intro on stream again. But it is what it is. We got to record some episodes here, and I'm glad that you guys, all 2 of you, are here and enjoying the stream. All right, so Pennsylvania. Let's see if we have any hometown fighters here. Oh, not likely usage. Hometown fighter. Oh, we have one in the right here in the lightweight division. Let's see if there's any up in the other divisions. All right, Kyle Dawkins, undefeated, 9-0. Let's see what we can find for you. Impa Kasangane. It looks like the most even fight so far. Trevor Hot Sauce Smith. Let's actually go all the way down here. Gonna need you to get partnered so I can use my Twitch Prime. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, you're welcome to subscribe if you want. I don't necessarily need subscriptions or anything. This is a lot of fun for me. I enjoy doing it just to keep you guys entertained. I do appreciate it that you guys, want to, have me get supported and stuff like that, if that's what my understanding is. But I enjoy just doing this, being able to hang out with you guys and just talk about MMA and things like that. So let's see. Let's see what we can find for Kyle Dawkins here. I don't even know what it takes to get partnered, so I wouldn't even begin to understand what I would have to do. Ooh, Marcus Perez. Let's go ahead and do this. This guy's kind of he's had a tough go of it, so let's go ahead and give Kyle Dawkins this as his intro to the UFC. Another hometown fighter. All right, I think there's one in the welterweight, Sean Brady, 2-0, so he's on a winning streak. So let's find him someone impressive to fight. And let's see, someone who would give him a pretty decent showing, but someone who's been around. Like this guy, Keenan Song, 4-1 in the UFC. That looks like a pretty good test for him, and he's on a winning streak as well. All right. That looks like a good one. I've noticed there is a lot of French fighters. I don't know about a lot of French fighters. Maybe like 3 or 4. So I talked about it in an earlier episode. Tom Duquesnoy is retired. I did not know that until literally like the other day. I think I was, that's right, because I was going through the retired fighters that I was trying to talk out of retirement, and his name was on that list, and I have no idea why. I mean, obviously he's probably just retired, but I don't understand why he probably just came off a loss and he just wasn't feeling it anymore. I don't know, because he's only like 26 years old, so I can't imagine it's because of injuries or anything. It probably was just a thing where he was like, fuck this, I'm not doing it anymore. And I mean, he's a young kid. He has the right to do whatever he wants to do. So, all right, Kama Worthy, trying to find someone for him. And it's probably going to be this guy right here, Peter Barrett. Looks to be a really even fight. Let's go ahead and do it. All right, nice. Let's see if there's any more hometown fighters. Featherweight, no. Bantamweight, no. Flyweight, no. No women's featherweight, no women's bantamweight, no women's flyweights, no women's strawweight. All right, cool. So let's get a women's strawweight fights in here. Chiara Penko versus Tina Latamaki, 4-1 versus 5-1. 24-year-old fighter from Livorno, Italy. And she looks to be quite a looker as well. Ooh. Look at those arms. My goodness. Let's try to make a star out of her, shall we? Mickey Gall. What is Mickey Gall up to? Let's see. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You're on my mind. Hey, Mickey. He's just not up to anything. So his last fight, of course, was a win over Salim Tari on the Covington versus Lawler. I actually went to his fight against Diego Sanchez. That was at UFC 235. Yeah, he got demolished by Sanchez. And I'm a big fan of Mickey Gall. He's another example of a guy who they found on looking for a fight. And they kind of just signed him up because they were like, hey, this kid looks good. He has some potential in him. Let's sign him up. They threw him in the fight against Mike Jackson, who was a journalist who said, yeah, sure, I'll fight if you guys give me a lifetime journalism pass. And then he fought CM Punk for the notoriety, and he won. And then immediately after that, he did a really good job of selling himself and said, hey, I want to fight Sage Northcutt. He's the only other young guy around. I want to beat his ass. And he did. He did. So, I mean, good for him. Lost to Randy Brown, obviously. And then it's kind of just been 50-50 ever since then. But yeah, Mickey Gall, he's low-level national. So my thinking is he would probably be on the main card of a fight night. And so that's why we're going to go ahead and hold on to him for the time being. We'll hold on to him for the time being. Chris Holdsworth, yep, literally just signed for us. 6-0, 2-0 in the UFC. So he might be ranked once we update, just because we don't necessarily know where the game's going to put him at ranking-wise or how they perceive him to be. All right, so 3 more fights to book. And let's book a heavyweight fight. You know, let's get one of the big boys in there. Carlos Felipe, undefeated, 8-0. See if we can find an even fight for this young man. Against Adam Zika, 7-1-1, 6-4, 6-0. Let's go ahead and do this fight. Couple of big boys going at it. All right, so we got a heavyweight fight on there. Let's get a bantamweight and a flyweight fight right here. And just because I have so many fighters, I'm thinking about maybe doing 10 prelim fights for the ESPN fight cards as well. It's literally just 3 extra fights, but something to help out with the fact that we have so many fighters. But the thing is, I know that once this first kind of wave of fight cards go through, there's going to be a lot of fighters that get injured or that have medical suspensions. So it's going to be a good idea to kind of just hold off and do only one fight card a week, because on my other game save, I was doing 2 fight cards a week for a while, and it got really bad just because a lot of people got injured, obviously, and it was just really hard to maintain. All right, so Soo Chul Kim, let's find someone for him. Javid Basharat, 5-0, from England, 26 years old. Let's go ahead and do this fight right here. And you said Said Nurmagomedov. Yeah, let's go ahead and look for him. Yeah, so he's not up to anything right now. Bantamweight, 14-2, lost to Raoni Marcelos his last time out. All right, so we have one more fight, and I did say it was going to be a flyweight fight, so let's go ahead and do that. And we'll make it a pretty decent flyweight fight. Flyweight fights, Jesus. Just because look at all the action. There's not a lot of fights really going on in the flyweights. So let's do a top 10 fight. Let's find Kai Kara France something to do. And where is Mr. France? Let's see. What would be an even fight for him at this point? It says this guy right here. Zalgas Zumagulov, number 8 in the world. Last coming off a win to Ali Bagautinov. Let's go ahead and do this. It's also a debut fight for him, so what a way to come into it, getting a top 10 fight. All right, so that is that, and those are the rest of the prelims. Let me just rearrange these. Uh-huh. That's fine. No. And this bantamweight probably might be someone that I want to build around. And then the Kai Kara France fight, we'll go ahead and make the co-main event. No, we'll go ahead and put it right up there. All right, cool. So we have all of our prelims booked all the way up until UFC 251. You can go and take a look at those right there. And then, as a reminder, the next time I see you guys, it's going to be for UFC on ESPN Plus, Moraes versus Sandhagen. And before I end the episode right here, let me just go ahead and add those broadcasters so that way we can make some Mooney. All right, so not ESPN, ESPN UK, yes. And if you are from the UK, let me know. Is ESPN a big deal over there, or is it more Sky Sports and ITV? Because I'm curious as to how ESPN is presented in the UK. Is it the same as the US, or is it a little different? Do you guys not really like ESPN that much over there? I'm very curious about that. BT Sport, is that kind of the main sports channel over there? Pawnee Boy is my resident UK expert. OSN Sports 2 in Asia. Red A Globo. Teletica Canal 7. TSN. Sky. I hear you. Sky and illegal streams. Yeah. Back when I was a teenager and I didn't have money to, buy, obviously buy, pay-per-views and things like that. Yeah, Reddit, illegal streams, that was definitely the way to go. So British Isles medium, but then if I go to ESPN UK, it says British Isles big. So is ESPN UK even a thing over there? Are they kind of just thinking that ESPN's big over there just because it's ESPN? Or is it like not an England thing, but like a Ireland thing? Or is Sky just like a European thing as a whole? All right, so in Virginia, all set up with our broadcasters, good to go there. And then as a reminder, after Moraes versus Sandhagen, that's UFC 249. ESPN has a channel, I think they come on a lot earlier. But yeah, UFC 249, Habib versus Ferguson, the fight that should be happening. And then we have a title eliminator between Korean Zombie and Brian Ortega. We have Frankie, didn't mean to do that. We have Frankie Edgar taking on Uriah Faber. No title eliminator, just a fight between two very well-known fighters. A title eliminator between Rose Namajunas and Jessica Andrade. And then a fight between Edmund Shabazian and Kelvin Gastelum. Very, very, very big test for young Mr. Shabazian. All right. So I'm glad that you guys were able to join me for this episode. Please stay tuned if you are on the Twitch stream, like I mentioned. But that's going to do it for this one. AZPlow21 is the channel name. Be sure to like and subscribe. Also, be sure to click on the little bell down below so that way you guys get notifications whenever my videos are published, just so you guys can have access to it whenever, wherever you are. As always, I thank you guys. I will see you guys next time for Moraes versus Sandhagen.